guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kelly and this is my first YouTube channel, so I'm really excited to be talking about something really important with you guys today. And it's something that I've put a lot of thought into and I've observed it within the African community. So I'm going to be talking about losing a child, like having a stillbirth, and the misconceptions, the taboos within the African community or African families in general. So I'm going to start by talking about myself first. So basically, last year, May 7th, I was pregnant with my first child, and I wasn't expecting it. That's It came completely out of the blue because I had just moved back here from California. When I say here, I mean in Toronto. I just moved back from uh, California, and after I moved here, my husband came and joined me here. So we found that I was having a baby like probably 3 months after he moved here, and it was so difficult for us to process it because I was still I was still settling in, and he was also still settling in, so it was difficult. But um, they always say blessings come at any given moment, right? Whether you plan for it or you don't plan for it, they always come. But when I found that I was pregnant, it was somewhere around November. It was in December actually, and we shared the news to my family and his family, and everybody was so excited. So last year, everything was going well. I had my regular checkups and my regular appointments. The baby was healthy and she was very, very active. And somewhere around my 6th month, I decided, okay, maybe I want to do a baby shower because it was my first pregnancy. But I had decided to do the baby shower in May, at the end of May. And because it's always, when it's your first pregnancy, you never know what to expect typically. So I had a male OB, and one thing about me, or I don't know if somebody can relate to this, is when you have a male OB, it's hard for you to relate with them or share your questions with them. So I went by using Google as my answers. So every time I had a question, I would go on Google and find out what the answer was, anything about the child, how many kicks you have to fill in a day, if the heart were to stop. And it's crazy because one night I had a dream, and I had a dream that she actually died in my sleep, and I woke up and I told my husband, I told my husband that I had a dream that she died, and he's like, no. So I prayed on it and I said it wasn't going to happen. And the next day, I just went about my day, just knowing that nothing's gonna happen. I went to work and came back, and I noticed something was off because I didn't feel her move. Then I went and called my doctor, and he told me to go straight to the hospital and have an ultrasound to see if everything was okay. And at that point, I was downtown doing some groceries, and I said, okay, on our way back from doing groceries, we should go straight to the hospital before going to go and make any deposit for the hall that we're going to rent for the baby shower. So we went directly to the hospital, and we got there. My husband and I were just laughing, like we're always happy people. And the nurse had me lay on the bed while she tried to check her heartbeat. And I and my husband were busy having a conversation at that moment, and we're just laughing about something that was completely off. We're not even present at the moment. So then for the first 15 minutes, the nurse kept trying to get the heartbeat, but it was really low and she couldn't get the heartbeat. And I thought maybe there's something wrong with the machine. And I just lay there just trying to close my eyes and relax that everything was okay. And next minute, she tried another machine and the heartbeat was low, and she went to go call another nurse to come talk to me. And we went from laughing, and I was in shock Like, I mean, in shock, where I could not even cry, like in shock, like it's impossible. It's impossible. And she just came and told me that they don't feel her heartbeat, that they don't feel her heartbeat. And my mom was there. We had called my mom, and she showed up at the hospital, and she was right by my side. And my husband immediately called his mom, and his mom, she lives in England, so she flew all the way immediately and came to the hospital and joined us because I had to deliver the baby. So I had to deliver the baby the same day, or depending how long it would take for um, me in the hospital. I was there for 3 days, and I had to have a natural birth. So it was nothing that I had to have an emergency C-section. It was something where I had to have a natural birth. And my parents were in the hospital. My siblings came to the hospital, so everybody was there. And they rushed me to emergency. And that's where all the emotions came crashing because I wasn't expecting things to go so suddenly. And it's worse to think that you had a dream and this dream actually did come to reality, but you just didn't take it seriously. Um, I had to decide whether I would take the epidural or not, and I decided I wouldn't take it just because I was scared of needles. Like, even in that moment, I was so scared of needles. But I told them I didn't want it, and I struggled with the pain and the contractions. They had to force the labor. So for those moms who have gone through having a child and you have to have a normal birth, they have to they have to force the labor for the baby to come out. So the baby was not coming out. I was in so much pain. I couldn't hang, but I keep telling myself I could do it. I was in so much pain. And later on, I went and sat in the bathtub, and they put hot water for me to sit in there to ease off the pain. Then I came back on the bed and still nothing. After 18 hours had passed, I could not take the pain anymore, and I had to tell the nurse that I needed to take the epidural. At that point, I thought I was dying. I thought I was dying. But the nurse finally called the doctor to come give me the epidural. But before they gave me the epidural, they gave me morphine because I didn't want anything in my back. So they gave me morphine on my thigh, and it did not do absolutely nothing. They gave me the first dose, it did nothing. Then they came back and gave me the second dose. I was still in so much pain, it did nothing before they can finally come and give me the epidural. It took the doctor about 4 hours before he came from the surgery he was previously doing to come and give me the epidural. Um, so they finally gave it to me, and finally I was relaxed and I was able to have the baby probably the next following day. In the afternoon, I had her in the afternoon, and when she came out, she was so peaceful. She was just calm. We took turns carrying her, and her eyes were closed, her little fingers, her long legs, everything. She just looked just like my husband. She looked absolutely nothing like me. And I wouldn't have thought I would have lost a child 6 months stillbirth. Like, she was just 3 months shy away of her due date. And I lost her, and I wouldn't have ever imagined. And then the social worker comes in, and the coroner, asking what decisions we should make about having a cremation or burying her. And that was something we had to decide probably after I had gone home and settled down. I didn't want to decide that at the hospital because I had so much emotions that was going through me. So they gave us all the paperwork, and we went home. And I went home, and my husband's mom had just landed. So my husband picked her up, and she joined us at home, and we just had to. I don't even know. It was just difficult for me to process coming home and seeing her creep, her clothes, everything. and she was not with us. She was not with us. Anyways, I want to talk about questions that arise in African communities when it comes to having a child, um, or like having a child in general, or having a stillbirth. So basically, like with us Africans, we always think when you're pregnant, you shouldn't share your joy with others. So you should keep it to yourself. I believe everybody's different. Like everyone is different. Some people choose to share their joy, and some people choose not to just because they're scared. But it's not only because they're scared. Like some people go through situations in life where it has taught them to keep their joy before they receive it. And when I say keep their joy before they receive it, I have people who had multiple miscarriages, and when they finally conceived, they didn't want to share their news with the world because they were scared it was going to happen again. And I can't blame them because I would have done the same thing. And people who have never gone through it will never understand until they had those situations occur to them. And now I see why they actually did it, because when I was pregnant with Skylar, I was very overjoyed, and because it was going to be the first grandchild of my parents and my husband's parents, I wanted to share the news with everybody, right? Because it was a long time since we had a baby in our family. So it was something I wanted to share with everybody. But little did I know that she would she would pass away. And if you tell me if I were to have another baby anytime soon, I'll tell you no, because I was scared it was going to happen again. And and if and if I had to have another baby, I wouldn't have to share the news with anybody because I just didn't want to share her with the world and something happens to her. So it's it's a tough decision to make, honestly, because as a parent, you don't want to have to ever bury a child so young. You haven't even spent time with them. You haven't even seen um, their moment. You haven't seen anything about them, and you just have to bury them before you have to experience life with them. And it was so difficult for us to do that, and we had to literally take one day at a time. I had people messaging me probably 3 months when she was supposed to be due, asking me where's the baby. I don't want to post pictures. How come I'm traveling without the baby? Where is she? And I was not ready to answer those questions. And these are things that people in the African community, they try to run away from. So that's why most of them, they don't post about their pregnancies in case anything happened. At least nobody knew. But for those who post about their pregnancies, they just disappear. And I remember when she passed away, I completely deleted all social media. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to answer anybody's questions. I had situations where I ran into people in public and they asked me, "Oh, you already had the baby?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did." They're like, "Where's the baby?" I'm like, "She's at home." I wasn't ready to tell them that she passed away. It was difficult for me, and I had to reflect how I would start approaching those questions, because I know they were going to come, especially if I start leaving my house. And eventually they started coming. They started coming, and when they started coming, I felt like I was prepared to answer the questions, and I don't think these people were ready to hear what I had to say. Um, some people were even scared to ask me those questions. I want to talk about the questions that people have when they know you just lost a child. People would have cliche comments like, "Don't worry, you can always have another child." It's like, come on. Somebody just went through something, and the last thing you want to tell them is, "Don't worry, you can always have another child." I know that that's coming from a place of care, but I personally, I'll take it differently because I wouldn't want to have another child knowing that the same situation would happen to this child. So it's always best not to tell someone, "Don't worry, you always have another child." Maybe be a good listener, be sympathetic with them rather than um, throwing out those cliche comments. Another question that I have is people will ask you, how many kids do you have? Especially when I walk in public and I would like meet strangers and they will ask me, how many kids do you have? I say, I don't know what to say because it's either I say, I don't have no kids or I had one and she passed away. So that was a question that was so difficult for me to answer. And I found it more comfortable to answer that I have one, but she's not with us anymore. Some people would rather say zero, but I choose to acknowledge her because she was still our child. And she was born, but whether alive or not alive, she was still our child. So I'm going to acknowledge her whether she's here or not. People would ask me, why don't you post about the baby? You're always on social media. Did you have the baby? And I'm like, before you ask me those questions, first come and ask me, how are you? Did you have a safe delivery? All those questions. But the first question an African asks you is, where is the baby? Where are the pictures of the baby? Like, come on, guys. What happened to good manners? It's very difficult for you to ask somebody that question before even asking them how they're doing, because you never know how people what people are going through or how they were doing without asking them. So I think it's really important that when you know somebody is having a baby or someone is pregnant, the first question is to ask about how they feel or how they're doing before you jump into questions about regarding the baby. Um, Another question someone had asked me was like, do I have a picture of the baby when she passed away? Um, when somebody asked me that question, I didn't know what to do. Like, how dare you? How dare you ask me that kind of a question? Because that would bring back emotions. That's the last thing people should ask. I understand you want to be so detailed and see everything, but you can't ask about the dead baby's picture. I just think it's so wrong. Whether you're a friend or not, it's just so wrong. Because even my siblings didn't ask for a picture of the baby when she passed away, you know. And I wouldn't expect that from my own friends or from even strangers. Another question people had, you know, I feel like most people avoid the topic of stillbirth because they don't want people knowing that they lost a child. I personally think it's okay. Everybody has a choice and everybody has a way to deal with grief. My only way to deal with it was to go back to work right after I had her. I literally went back to work 2 weeks after, because I was home crying every night. I could not sleep, and I just could not imagine having to stop my life just because she passed away. I had to keep on moving because, you know, the life world, my world did not end. Yes, we lost her, but I had to keep it moving. I had my husband here for support, and I had my colleagues, I had my friends, and it was great to have people around me and my family to support us during that time. Another thing people need to start doing is providing practical support. That's very important. When you hear somebody's child has passed away, it's very important to provide practical support. Be it showing up at your house and bringing them a meal, providing some support via over the phone. Um, I think is very important. That would go a very long way for the parent. One thing that I dislike is when Africans try to say that don't post. If you did not post, the baby would not pass away. You're not God. You cannot judge what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. I just believe that if something were to happen, it will happen. And if something were not to happen, it would not happen. So for people to even say that maybe you shouldn't have posted, maybe if nobody knew, maybe everything would have been okay. Like I rarely posted when I was pregnant. I posted like 2 pictures, if I can remember very well. Doesn't matter how much I posted in the first place, but regardless of the fact, it's like the fact that you choose to share your joy with the world or with everybody doesn't mean um, something is gonna happen. You never know when, like tomorrow, we will all be gone. Knock on wood, tomorrow your own sister will be gone. But you were posting her, so what's the difference between her and the baby, right? And I just think it's important for us to start speaking about this, um, misconceptions in African homes, what they think about being pregnant and hiding pregnancy, what they think about um, posting pregnancy before the baby gets here, what they think about sharing news, what they think about losing a child, people go into hiding after that happens. I understand, but I think it's important that you seek counseling or you try to do some reflection with yourself on how to move past that situation. And I think that helped me a lot speaking about it. And most people that met me know that I was a kind of person to always be happy. I never let a situation take take away my happiness. I never let a situation stop me from pursuing my dreams, pursuing my goals. I had to pick myself up and keep moving. And I want you all to do the same because we're here to support one another. We're here on this planet. We're all one. And I think it's important for us to have a community where we can speak about this openly and not having to worry about people having negative thoughts because those negative thoughts are not going to bring your child back. Those negative thoughts are not going to make your life better, right? So it's important for us to be a good listener to other people's problems, to know that everyone has situations that they're dealing with. Just because they don't talk about it doesn't mean they don't have situations. We all have situations that we're dealing with. And I'm happy that I was able to talk about this with you guys, and I look forward with my next video that I'll be uploading soon. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And
I know
ciao.
that you'll go, my love. I think I'm yours. My dreams, like dreams.